Your brain changes in reaction to the events and experiences lived. It changes. It evolves in a hope to overcome situations and survive. The currency for that change is comfort and discomfort in experiences. If you were able to learn your native language, it is thanks to all of the different experiences you lived. Your parents' voice, their encouragements, the satisfaction of saying your first words, but also the pain, the anger, the frustration of not being able to get any out or to express yourself. And with your target language, it's no different. All of the progress you made is preceded at one point or another by a stressful, uncomfortable, even irritating experience. And alcohol, the world's favorite drink, comes in the way. Join me on this adventure to discover what are the acute and chronic implications and consequences of drinking alcohol on language learning. This is what John thinks as well. John is in his late 20s. He is a normal person, normal guy, and he decided to learn Spanish. He had Spanish-speaking friends. He liked how it sounded like, so he picked up Spanish. He got to the point where he's able to communicate in Spanish and he's able to have some conversations. So he decides to speak with his friends, but he also goes to those language exchange events and nights to find new speaking partners. And he doesn't think that having a glass of alcohol, whether it is a beer, a glass of wine, a cocktail, he doesn't think that it harms him in any way. He doesn't get drunk, it's not excessive, and he just has 1, 2, maybe 3 drinks, and to him it works fine. The only effect that he sees is actually the contrary. He feels like he speaks better when he is drunk. When he's had a couple of drinks, he can express himself better. His accent sounds much better, and he just is more fluent. But the problem is that when he does not have a drink, when he's sober, he feels a crumbling fear, a crumbling pressure on him, and he cannot get any word out. He is so overcritical of himself, he just cuts himself mid-sentence. He cannot fully express himself in Spanish, and it's nowhere near as good as when he's had a drink. So now let me ask you this. Do you think that John is a better speaker when he drinks alcohol? Or do you think that the fact that he drinks alcohol changes his perception and makes him think that he speaks better? There is a little bit of both. To answer this question, to describe the problem, I will introduce 3 different concepts that are a little bit connected together. You will see in just a second. The first concept I'll talk about is state dependency learning. It is exactly what it sounds like. If you learn something in a certain state, you will remember it better when you're in the same state. If you learn how to cook or do something, a skill, in John's case, how to say something, some expressions, how to pronounce a certain sound, John will be more apt to remember this, to perform in this skill, and in this case in Spanish, when he is in the same state. This, of course, makes him speak better when he drinks. The second effect I'd like to touch on is disinhibition. That's something we're all familiar with if we've had a drink or two in our lives. When we drink alcohol, we feel more confident, we don't overthink, we get out of our head. And the way this works is that it doesn't give us more energy per se, but because alcohol has this ability to shut down the parts of our brain that make us critical, the parts of our brain that make us analyze, think, that help us make decisions, repress our speech, because it does this, it helps John not focus on how he's speaking, not focus on how he looks like, how he sounds like, but actually focus on what he is saying. And this is super important because it helps him funnel all of his energy, all of his attention on what he is doing. And of course, alcohol for maybe an hour and a half, depending on tolerance, promotes serotonin and dopamine, which are 2 hormones that are linked with motivation, reward, a sense of being connected, a sense of being satisfied. So when he drinks, no wonder. He doesn't repress his speech as much. He doesn't overthink. He gets out of his own head and he just starts speaking. His standards are lower and he's more satisfied. The last effect of alcohol, acute effect of alcohol I'd like to touch on here is an effect called source monitoring error. When John has a couple of drinks, maybe 3, maybe 4, in a short amount of time, which is not crazy. If you think about it, people get a drink every 20 to 30 minutes. If they stay at the venue or at the restaurant for a little bit, they can achieve this amount of alcohol. And for most people who's built a tolerance, like John, it doesn't get them that drunk. It just makes them a bit more euphoric. So when he's in that state, his short-term memory is going to be affected by alcohol. And that's why when people drink too much, they end up being blacked out drunk. It doesn't mean being passed out drunk. It means that they can't recollect the events of the night after it happened. They forget everything. The same thing happens, but at a lower rate when John drinks alcohol and speaks Spanish. He will have trouble discerning what he has lived, the actual events of the night, what he will have thought, and what other people will have told him. So those 3 effects form a cocktail that make John remember better what he learned while being drunk, have lower standards and actually get out of his head, say things, and it will mess with his memory, so he will remember things that maybe haven't happened, or he will distort the narrative that he tells himself. But when you look at the facts, when you look at his actual level, he doesn't speak better. He's hitting a plateau. He cannot progress as much as he would want to. And this is because of alcohol. Not only alcohol impairs his cognitive functions when he's speaking, when he's practicing, when he's forming those bonds with people that speak Spanish, but it is also impacting very negatively his sleep. And this is very bad because sleep, I would say, is 60% of the job. The 40% of the job you do when you practice, when you learn, when you're out there, when John is out there speaking to his friends in Spanish, trying to put words together in a way that makes sense. But the other 60% is when he sleeps. When he sleeps, John's brain can analyze everything, make sense of what he has heard, connect dots together, connect ideas to make the act of speaking and of using certain structures natural. When people drink alcohol, they won't be wise enough to call it a night and just go home and sleep at their normal bedtime. He also goes to bed while being still a little bit inebriated. And this is a very bad thing because sleep, contrary to what John might believe, is not just passing out for 7 to 8 hours every day. It is a complex sequence of different events that take place in your mind, in your brain, and in your body that help you repair your cells, your nervous system, and that help you learn. And you won't be able to have a quality deep sleep or any other stage of sleep for that matter until his body metabolizes alcohol, which can take a while depending on how much he has had. Okay, so John comes to his senses and realizes that it's maybe not the best idea if he practices, learns, or speaks Spanish while being drunk. So he separates the two because he thinks that it's wiser, and he also learns about the bad consequences of alcohol and sleep. So when he actually goes to speak Spanish again with his friends, of course it's a bit more nerve-wracking. He doesn't have alcohol to lean onto to help him with the social aspect. He feels awkward, but getting past that 30-minute threshold, that 30-minute mark, he actually feels a bit better. It's more enjoyable because he's more in control and he's able to remember things better. So week after week, as he is developing his social muscle, it gets better. But it's not the incredible progress and breakthrough that he was hoping for. If we zoom out a little bit, does the alcohol that John drinks on other nights have an impact on his Spanish and his level overall? There are several effects that alcohol has on cognition that can impact learning, and that we'll talk about right now. The problem is that when John drinks alcohol, his sleep is going to be of bad quality. And there is something that most people get wrong, and it's that sleep is very important, but not just the night right after the thing happened. The 7, 8, maybe in some cases 9 consecutive nights after something happened that you want to remember are crucial for learning. It doesn't happen on just one night. So when John goes out on Tuesday and he's practiced Spanish on Monday, he's going to waste a bit of potential, a bit of learning potential, because he's going to be going to bed too late, and he'll go to bed while being inebriated. And this will also have an impact on the Spanish that he has learned on Monday. So, of course, he cannot get 7 out of 7 nights per week of perfect sleep unless he's Brian Johnson, but that guy is just phenomenal. It's optimal for John to get at least 5 to 6 nights of great sleep per week. The second effect of alcohol is chronic anxiety. Believe it or not, alcohol, the drink, the drug that people take to take the edge off, to relax, to be calmer, this drink rises anxiety quite a bit for people that drink it regularly when they're not drinking. The way this works is by messing with this inhibition is controlled by a neurotransmitter called GABA. The more you have some, the less you control yourself, the less you're anxious, and well, you know the effects of alcohol. But like all things in the body, there is an antagonist to it, or a neurotransmitter that plays the opposite role. A neurotransmitter called glutamates that make people a bit more anxious, a bit more lucid. When GABA is being promoted by alcohol and the glutamates are being limited by alcohol, the body adapts. Similarly to how your body will sweat when you're running hot, it will limit the production of GABA and compensate the effect of alcohol by enhancing the production of glutamates. As a result, chronic drinkers of alcohol feel very anxious when they don't drink, and so does John. And this pressure, this added pressure, doesn't help with language learning. It is hard enough to speak with someone from another culture in a language that he has not mastered yet. It is already anxiety inducing. So if he has internal anxiety, internal pressure on top of this, it's making it impossible for him. The third thing alcohol does to John's mind is making him more impulsive. Like I said, the brain changes based on experiences, and the experience of being drunk and of calming down of being drunk induces more impulsivity. This is a well-documented effect of alcohol. I'll put some more sources in the show note captions if you want to educate yourself further on the subject. But he'll be more impulsive, so it'll be harder for him to continue speaking Spanish. It will be harder for him to even start speaking Spanish with someone if he meets someone that he can speak Spanish with. Jumping the step and going from English to Spanish is going to be harder because he's drinking alcohol a few times per week. And the last thing is it depletes cognition. Alcohol, it is also a documented effect of alcohol, but basically it makes the brain a bit slower by way of thinning the layer of white matter on the cortex. I will also include a study in the show note captions, and that study shows that even if people drink 1 to 2 drinks per day on average, so that can be 14 drinks per weekend or just 1 to 2 drinks per day, it has a significant impact on the cognition. And it also shrinks the hippocampus, and the hippocampus is a center for short-term memory. So all of this makes the task much harder for John to learn Spanish. John is a mind athlete. He needs to take care of his vehicle, and his vehicle is his mind. The same way someone who runs marathon will take care of their body, John needs to take care of his brain, and that means going to bed regularly at the same time, sleeping enough, having quality sleep, not drinking alcohol, and seeking quality social interactions. And that's, again, something that alcohol can negatively affect. When John is inebriated, his social interactions are easier at first. It's easier to break the ice, but it's never going to be the full experience. The bonding with other people is different while being drunk. So in the end, John realizes that alcohol doesn't help him learning languages, and he realizes that he should stop altogether, or maybe just drink once a week, a couple of drinks once a week. That would be the cutoff. If you drink alcohol because of the social aspect of it, because you're not able to go and speak to people, because you're not able to enjoy a night out, the sad truth is that alcohol is going to provoke this. It is a cure and a poison. Alcohol is such a predominant drug in our society. Everyone drinks it. Politicians, our parents, the youth, everyone drinks alcohol. And for language learners that are, like I said, mind athletes, it has some very bad consequences. And I'm not even talking about the consequences it has on the body. So I think that we need to shed light on this subject. If you found this video to be helpful, please share it with other people. Share it with your friend who's learning Spanish or your cousin who's learning Mandarin. And if you can even share it in your Instagram story. That would help people a lot. Not only me, but also the people who will watch it and who will realize that alcohol is not helping them to speak languages. I see that so much, people just thinking that alcohol enhances them, helps their cognition. And it's kind of sad because it deprives them from the necessary discomfort. They're avoiding this necessary discomfort to learning. This discomfort, it is uncomfortable by definition, by nature, but it is precisely why they get to speak their target language. And it's unavoidable because alcohol brings other types of discomfort. Thanks a lot for watching. This means a lot. I hope you succeed in all of your language learning projects. This was Luca Leandri. À bientôt.